Cough it up.
Yeah, lovely.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson, Richard James, and Chris Dale.
Did you have a nice birthday?
I had a lovely birthday. Thank you for that amazing surprise.
It's a great pleasure.
How on earth did you fit it all in the box?
Well, I'm quite the expert.
Yeah, you are.
Cramming these things in.
How often do I have to feed it?
Twice daily, I'm afraid.
Twice daily?
For now, I mean, after 6 months, once a day will be fine.
And will it need repotting?
Probably, yeah.
And do I have to build it first, or is it self-assembly?
Yeah. How are you going to hang it otherwise?
I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, it's lovely and warm, so thank you for that.
Great pleasure.
Yes, anyway, welcome to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. It's just been my birthday, that's why we're talking
He's
about
another year older.
I'm a whole year older, yes.
But yes, you are the now increasingly aged Richard James.
Good God. Yes, thank you, Jamie Anderson.
Yes, thank you.
Co-host of the Gerry Anderson Podcast,
Very
which is
good.
what this is.
Yes.
It's a podcast dedicated to the life and works of Gerry Anderson.
It is. And we've been dedicating it for 293 episodes at this point, and this is the 200.
Silly, isn't it? Which means we're very close to our 300th.
I thought you were going to say very close to the end then.
Well, we are certainly closer to the end than we were. Potentially.
Yes, we must be.
Yeah, I suppose so.
All good things.
Yes. But for the 300th, we do have a bit of a plan, don't we? I hope that comes off.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
No,
but
but I'm just saying we've got a plan. I'm not going to say what it is because it might not happen, but wouldn't that be great?
It'll be lovely.
Yeah. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you can join us.
Yeah.
What?
Someone who is definitely joining us.
Oh, yes.
Because he's poised and ready to say hello.
Is he?
Yeah.
In his own inimitable fashion.
Yeah. It's Chris Randomiser Dale. Hi, Chris.
Hi guys.
It's nice to have him along, isn't it?
Yeah, he's always so jolly.
Really jolly.
Yeah.
And always has that sort of same cadence to his voice, which I quite like. That's right. It's like
Yeah.
a doorbell, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Ding
Hi,
dong.
guys.
Yeah.
Ding dong.
In fact,
Yeah.
have you got one of those doorbells that you can program? Because I might change mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be great if it also had sort of facial recognition, so it only made that particular noise when it was Chris Dale at the door?
Chris Dale has yet to visit me at home.
Well.
So if he does, that would be
Orcs.
quite... But he could just say it then. Anyway.
Yeah, he would, that's true. Anyway, Gerry Anderson Podcast, Fab Facts, Podsterons, first part of Chris Dale's interview with David K. Barnes from the Wooden
that's
Overcoats.
exciting.
And the Randomiser, all coming up.
Is it true that... I don't know if it's true or not. My recollection is
Go
that
on.
Chris has not done an interview since Crispin Morel.
What? No, you've plainly forgotten
I forget
John
everything.
Lee.
Oh, John Lee. Is
Was that
the
your
only one,
last?
though?
Yeah. John
Okay.
Lee.
So only
Terrorhawks.
one since John Lee.
I'm surprised you don't remember that. He put a lot of effort into it.
But
Yeah.
I think the reason is because I wasn't here.
You weren't.
Didn't I leave?
Right,
I
probably.
had to go and get my hair done.
Probably you just left us to it. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
so that was
Getting your hair done,
That
did
was
you say?
I was joking. That was a
Right.
pointless observation that I made.
Yeah.
And I will make many other pointless observations during this podcast.
Well, I think there's certainly one or two coming up in the next item, I would think.
Oh, almost certainly.
Hey!
You talking about Fab Facts?
I am.
Okay, let's bring on a pointless Fab Fact.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Okay, well,
Yes.
it's Fab Facts.
All right. Well, don't sound so excited about it.
Oh, sorry. Well, it's Fab Facts.
That's
now.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have to tolerate that, won't we?
Yeah.
I've got a book of Fab Facts.
You have. You're very proud of it.
It's quite the tome.
Comes out every week.
It does, yes. Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And whether I like it or not, you shout Fab.
Yeah.
Which stops me flicking on a random page, which hopefully reveals a Fab Fact.
Whether we like it or not.
Yes.
Great.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, I think I am.
Whether
yeah.
you like it or not?
Yeah, I have.
Here we go then.
Fab!
Nice.
Bit croaky then.
Nice. Yeah, it was a bit.
I think I'm all right.
You need to do a bit of a vocal warm-up.
Yeah, I should be doing a vocal warm-up before every podcast, you're right.
Yeah. Now, last couple of weeks, we've had very long ones.
Stonkers.
But I'm pleased to say
Yes.
this one is not quite as long.
For you. We can get on with the rest of our lives.
Absolutely. So, as you know, the book addresses you directly.
Oh,
So,
yes, which is a bit weird, yeah.
Richard,
Yes. Book.
just say it like it's me.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you. We all know that many a famous actor has had to hold down a proper job in the meantime while waiting for fame and fortune to arrive.
Been there, done
It's the
that.
actor's story, isn't it?
Yeah.
We also know that many actors had jobs previous to becoming actors, of course.
Oh, yeah, that happens too, yeah.
Yeah. For many actors connected with dance shows, it wasn't unusual for them to have spent time in the services, even seeing active duty, or, as in the case of Four for the Falls' Nicholas Parsons, being offered a posting in the Merchant Navy but having to decline due to a nasty bout of pleurisy.
Oh, wow, that's a fab fact in itself, right there.
We can maybe do a pleurisy fact in the future week. Perhaps, though, one of the most interesting of first careers is that of Space 1999's Martin Landau.
Oh, right.
In a 2010 interview, Martin Landau revealed that he started his career as a cartoonist for the New York Daily News, contributing to Billy Rose's Pitching Horseshoes column, and as an assistant cartoonist to Gus Edson for The Gumps comic strip.
Oh, I know the Gumps.
Do you?
I think I've seen the Gumps, yes.
Okay, good. Landau explained, I started on the New York Daily News as a kid when I was 17 years old as a cartoonist and illustrator. And I was being groomed to be the theatrical caricaturist.
Oh,
it's
that
very
sounds amazing.
specific, isn't it? And I know if I got that job, I'd never quit. So I quit. I'd go to opening nights and the PR people would give me 8x10s of the dress rehearsal, and I would go home and do a drawing of the cast.
Nice.
Which would appear in a Sunday paper.
Oh,
If there were 2 openings that week, 2 drawings.
yeah.
The old fellow who had the job was retiring, and I had the ability to do it, but I knew I wanted to go into the theatre. I mean, I wanted to act.
Yes.
And I knew if I got that job, which was, again, a cushy job, a very well-paying job, that I would never quit.
Oh.
So, while the pen might not be mightier than the sword, as far as Space 1999's Commander Koenig was concerned, it was almost mightier than the Comlock.
Oh, yes. Wow, what we would have missed out on if he had
Yes.
continued on that career path.
Well, and for Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible,
and,
Ed
Gozi
Wood.
role, all those things. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Oscar winner, Martin Landau.
Yes.
Crikey, would have been denied all that. He may not have met Barbara Bain.
No.
Barbara Bain might have married someone else entirely. She might still have played Helena Russell.
It's possible.
Had another Koenig.
Who could that have been?
Could have been Leonard Nimoy. Could have been.
Nimoy and Barbara Bain. Yeah.
Would he have done more sci-fi, do you think, Nimoy?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he probably would, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Of course he would.
Of course he would
A
have.
couple of years at Pinewood, I'd do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh. But if you look online, I think there are some examples of Martin Landau's Space 1999 scripts where he has adorned the cover
Nice.
with a load of sort of little cartoony sketches.
Ah.
So yes, Podsterons, do you know of any other careers that Anderson stars and those behind the camera
Yes.
may have had in former lives?
Yes.
Do let us know, podcast@gerryanderson.com.
Nice.
But until next time, that brings us to the
Yeah,
end
go
of
on.
this week's
Yeah. Cartoon fact.
Thank goodness. Thank
Had
goodness.
to be, had to be.
Yes.
Lovely, that's great. Martin Landau, very talented man, I think, in all sorts of areas. I say, he would have lost out on something if he hadn't been an actor, but what might we have gained if he'd continued in his career as an artist? You
Well,
see?
more cartoons and caricatures, I guess.
Well, yeah, that's right. And a what?
Caricatures.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
What did you think I said?
I don't know, something about a shirt?
Yes, that. Anyway.
Now, every week, our wonderful Podsterons get in touch with us by letting their fingers dance across their keyboards, typing in the address podcast@gerryanderson.com and sending us some emails. Do you want to
do.
hear them?
Yeah, on balance, I would.
Thank goodness for that.
This is the voice of the Podsterons.
Hello, Jamie, Richard, Chris, and all my fellow Podsterons. That's not me talking, it's Jonathan Westall.
Hello, Jonathan Westall.
Happy New Year. Hope you're all well and had a wonderful Christmas.
It was
Yeah,
all right,
we did. It's
thanks,
quite a
yeah.
while ago now, yeah. I've been really enjoying the Thunderbirds TV 21 and novel adaptation audios that you've done over the past couple of
Good.
years. However,
Uh-oh.
we hate a however, don't we? At the time of writing this, I've yet to hear the most recent release, Danger and Deception, as I'm waiting for the download-only version to be released from Big Finish this month, but I'm really looking forward to listening to it.
It's a very good one.
And by now, he probably has got it.
You will have
hasn't
heard
he?
it by now, yes,
Wonderful.
it's out.
Listening to the TV21 audios has got me thinking. Have you, that's
Me?
you, considered giving other Gerry Anderson shows that featured in the TV21 comic the same audio magic? It'd be great to hear audio versions of those, especially for Stingray with its 60th anniversary coming up. Looking forward to seeing what's coming up from you all this year. Keep up the good work. FABSIGPWOR 1010, Jonathan Weston.
Thank you, John the Westall. Well, as you may recall from us talking about it last year, we finally have the rights from ITV to create new stories in audio and written form and graphic novels. So while it's lovely to revisit those TV21 stories, isn't it more exciting potentially to do brand new narratives, brand new adventures?
Well.
So we're certainly not saying no to any more TV21.
But you're sort of saying why,
yeah,
aren't you?
Yeah, because it's lovely to do them, to reinterpret them.
Yeah.
But they already exist in one form. So
Yeah.
what an amazing freedom to be able to tell some new stories. So I think that's probably the focus for the next little bit anyway. But I'm really glad you enjoyed them, because they were a great proving ground for that as a format, and for the new cast, and for writers and all that sort of stuff. So
Great.
lovely.
Yeah, perfect.
So I've got one from lovely Duncan Moss.
Oh, yes.
A very happy New Year to you all, and to Mummy A.
Nice.
It's nice that Mummy A gets her own little Happy New Year.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there's any news as to these 2 plaques which we're going to put up on the estate where Gerry grew up and attended school.
Well, we've been talking about
I
plaques.
made a modest contribution to the project and would like to see closure of it if it's not already happened.
Oh.
Looking forward to a wonderful handsome year. I didn't know there was a project to do blue plaques. It's Chris Dale, do you know anything about this?
No.
The Randomiser doesn't know, so
No.
it can't. I mean, Duncan, tell us more.
Yes.
Email us again and tell us what this
Yes.
is. We didn't know there was a thing.
No, because we've been talking about plaques and the criteria for them and so on over the last couple of weeks.
There was a guy who did the King's Arms one,
Yes,
which
yes.
has now been taken down, I think.
Apparently so.
That's rather sad, isn't it?
It's terribly sad.
Yeah, we need to do something about all of this. Thanks, Duncan.
Chris Davis says, Dear Jamie, right, I'll sit back and just read it then, shall I?
If you wouldn't mind.
As this year marks the 40th anniversary of the debut of Terrorhawks, I thought you might be interested to hear about a competition that was run on Channel 4's now long defunct Oracle teletext service.
I would love to hear.
Do we have to
about
explain
that.
what a teletext service is, or can we just plough on?
Let's leave it as a mystery to those who don't know.
Back in the October of 1983, while I was still at school, I was browsing through Oracle's Blue Suede Views pages when I came across a competition offering 2 signed Zeroids featuring the autographs of the cast and producer, Gerry Anderson.
Very nice.
In order to win this, all I had to do was answer one question and send it in. This I duly did, but never having had any luck in winning competitions, I did not have very high expectations. So you can imagine my surprise when I checked the pages sometime later and discovered, much to my considerable amazement, and considerable amazement it was at the time, that I had won one.
Amazing.
Attached to the email are photographs of the Zeroid, and there it was. We saw that. Thank you for sending it in, along with the letter from Julia Newby, the editor of Blue Suede Views Reviews. Remarkably, after 40 years, the inflatable Zeroid is still holding air, and the autographs are still legible. Hope this proves of interest, and keep up the good work promoting your father's fab legacy. With kind regards, Chris Davis. That's lovely, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Go on.
Can I also say,
Yes.
good for you, Chris, but I do say that with a note of jealousy.
Yeah, I bet you do.
You know why, don't you?
Well, because you want an inflatable Zeroid.
I always wanted an inflatable Zeroid
Yeah.
when I was a kid, and they didn't have them by the time I wanted one. Oh. And so I spent quite a long time trying to make my own.
Oh.
So any shop that I went to with Dad and I saw a
globe.
ball, it wasn't like a football size, but a bit smaller.
Yeah.
I would buy it, take it home, try and find a way to paint it to make it look like. And I, never really succeeded. So, Chris, you succeeded where I failed.
Well. Isn't that amazing?
Is it amazing?
Well, it is amazing that he's got what you always wanted and never had.
Yes, and that it's still holding air.
Still holding air. Well, so are you.
Thank you.
But that led me to think, Podsterons at home, email us podcast@gerryanderson.com. What's the strangest item that you had autographed by any cast members of any Gerry Anderson series?
Keep it clean, please.
That'd be good to know, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But very often you're caught unawares,
Impressive.
and it's like, oh, could you sign my book or my train ticket or something like that?
Yeah.
What's the strangest item that you have signed by any Gerry Anderson cast member?
Okay.
Let us know. Podcast@gerryanderson.com. In the meantime, that's all for now, but keep them coming in on any subject at all, and we'll read them out next time.
Excellent.
Now, caught me unawares,
me
because
too.
I think it's probably time for both of us to go and have a cup of coffee while Chris Dale gets busy with his interview.
Amazing. Good luck, Chris.
Good luck, David K. Barnes.
David is an award-winning writer of scripted comedy and drama and creator of the critically acclaimed podcast sitcom Wooden Overcoats. As a scriptwriter and series consultant, his credits include productions for Audible, Big Finish Productions, BBC Sounds, Hat Trick Productions, and ITN. He likes quirky comedy, fancy cakes, lots of velvet, and of course, all things Anderson. It's David K. Barnes.
Hello.
Hello, David.
Chris.
Oh,
Hello.
thank you ever so much for coming to join us here
thank you.
today.
This is
Now,
lovely.
you and I go back, I want to say, about 20 years.
I'm going to say 20 years.
I think
We've
you're
known
probably
each other
right.
For 20 years.
And yet today is only the second time
Second
we've
time
ever
we've
been
met.
in the
Yeah,
same room as
yeah,
each other.
yeah.
That's quite incredible.
That's amazing.
And
Yeah.
it's a very different world we're hearkening back to when we say 20 years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the days of very much message forums. That's where we met.
Indeed.
Doctor Who message forums
Yes.
is what we met on as in our sort of respective names. I believe
In
King
our
Godzilla.
previous regenerations,
The Secretive
yes,
Bus.
indeed.
Yeah,
That's right, yes.
absolutely. And the days of internet message forums, where actually I believe I did my very first comedy writing was on those forums. Usually,
That's right, yes.
writing characters based on you.
I suspect that's probably right.
Absolutely,
yes,
yeah.
I suspect I not an inspiration for like a Jar Jar Binks type character.
You were an inspiration
in one of your
for an even funnier Jar Jar Binks. Than
If
the
you
one
can
we got-
imagine
if
such
we-
a thing,
that
yes.
we got on screen. Absolutely.
But even longer than we've known each other, on and off, you have had a slight appreciation for not all things Anderson necessarily, but certainly Thunderbirds,
Absolutely.
Captain Scarlet,
Absolutely.
and one or two other things.
Indeed. No, I'd say that Thunderbirds is the very first televisual love that I think I had. I remember, I would say, basically there was these repeats on BBC Two, I think, probably. This is early 90s, and this is like Tracy Island comes out again of all the... I had Tracy Island, I had all the toys.
course, yeah.
My Thunderbird 2, the pod didn't have a door on it, which I didn't realise was effective until I saw somebody else's, and I went, oh. And did they ever make a Thunderbird 5? Did they ever?
Not in that run, no. They did 10 years later, the next time it came round. Yes,
so I was
but not in
just
our day.
well, I'm going to go and
No.
seek that out immediately after this recording,
Yes.
because I want a Thunderbird 5 for the collection.
And it talks, if you can find one that the battery hasn't
Talks?
drained on.
Good
Oh, yes,
Lord.
yes.
Which voice of John Tracy, the proper one or the one in Thunderbird 6?
Whichever voice artist happened to be passing the toy factory
Absolutely.
that day.
I'm just trying to lay
Yes.
my geek
Yes.
credentials here right now.
Yes.
But yeah, there was this. There's all these the repeats, and I think it was my uncle who'd put together this taped on BBC Two of various episodes of Thunderbirds, and that tape became a sort of holy grail for me. Like I'd go and see every weekend when my parents wanted a bit of time to themselves. They'd pack me off down the road to see my nan and my aunts, and they said, "Oh, keep him quiet. We'll put the Thunderbirds tape on." So almost every Saturday, and I was delighted to watch this tape. 5 episodes of Thunderbirds, which I think cemented it as the program, which was the most exciting show ever made. They were trapped in the sky, of course, great one to open
Oh,
with.
yeah,
Why not?
absolutely.
Sun Probe, which I absolutely adore.
Oh,
Sun
yes.
Probe.
I think that might even be my favourite, possibly. of the
It's
lot.
up there. It could be my favourite. So, I hope to get into that. Operation Crash Dive, a sequel, right there,
Yeah.
episode 3.
More Fireflash.
Planes crashing into the waves. Day of Disaster, the one of the rocket convoy going "Ugh," and falling off the bridge, cracker one. And the last one to round it out, to cement it as the ultimate children's show, Attack of the Alligators.
Oh, my goodness.
What a collection.
This is a dream compilation.
5 episodes is on the most peerless television ever made, right there on one tape.
Absolutely.
I watched that over and over again. It wasn't until much later I realised there were another sort of 20, 21, no, more than that, episodes
goodness, yeah.
out there. Absolutely astonishing. And so I absolutely loved this. And then as I grew up, there was Power Rangers and then Star Wars and then Doctor Who, which is still one of my great loves now, to the extent I even write for it sometimes. But that appreciation for Thunderbirds, that sort of childlike thrill, is still there. And when I watched a couple of episodes on ITVX, now in HD, all restored,
Oh, yeah.
much better than the DVDs I had, and in the correct aspect ratio.
Yes, very important.
The correct aspect ratio, that's why I haven't got the Blu-rays yet.
Without the extra sound effects.
I just want the... And I watched a couple on there just to prepare for this, and I just felt 5 years old again. It is still an immaculate programme.
Yeah, it's still got that magic. It's incredible just to look at these things. I mean, I've seen some of them, more times than I've seen so-called legendary, the greatest film ever.
Yes.
I've not seen Citizen Kane, but I've seen Day of Disaster at least 10 times.
And
probably.
I think most people around the world should. I think like if Peter Bradshaw on The Guardian were to watch Attack of the Alligators 10 times in a row, I think he'd have a very different appreciation of the film and a better one, quite frankly. And I like Peter Bradshaw.
We're getting some meaty stuff here today.
I like you, Peter Bradshaw, but Thunderbirds, come on, that's where the action's at. Sorry, carry on, Chris.
No, that's fine.
I've derailed this already.
We've established your Thunderbirds fan credentials, but now we're going to play a little game that goes back even further than Thunderbirds. This is Super Identification, in which we play a clip featuring excerpts from the opening titles of all 18 Anderson shows. And it's your job to identify each one. It's very quick.
Yep.
Shout out the answer as soon as you think you know it.
Yep.
Just a little bit of fun, but we will be keeping score.
Of course.
Of course. So,
Torchy the Battery Boy? Was that a thing? That looks like Fireball XL5. It seems too early. I don't know. That's... Who are you? This is astonishing. What's happened? Is it Supercar?
hey, that's
Yes, I got one. That'd be Fireball XL5.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. That's Stingray. There he is. Where's the fish jumping out the sea? Come on. Cracking stuff.
Of course you know this.
Beloved Thunderbirds. Peter Bradshaw, that's the stuff. Captain Scarlet.
He's the man,
Terrific.
yeah.
Yes, Joe 90, of course, which I've seen some of. Lots of violence in Joe 90, if I recall. The Secret Service is a show that was made. There it is. Now, oh my word, I ought to know that. No, that's gone. Totally. It's the not the Persuaders. It's the other one.
Close.
It's near. I'll come back to it. That's Space 1999.
Yes.
The Protectors was the last one.
Yep.
That's Terror Hawks, maybe.
Okay. We can manage
So
retrospective,
stressful.
that's fine.
That was the young ones. This is good Lord. I don't even know.
We're nearly there.
Oh my word! I didn't know. Gerry Anderson, you've done more than I.
Last one?
It's the CGI Captain Scarlet.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Fantastic.
We got some there. Good Lord.
Okay.
A newfound appreciation, very highly pressured newfound appreciation for Gerry Anderson right there.
Right, so, David K. Barnes, you have scored 11. We're going to write that on your card.
Absolutely.
We had a whole row of previous guests' scores along the side here. We've recently rebooted that, going into the new year, and you are now the current leader.
Oh.
So our previous guest, Ronnie LeDroux, got 10, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry to have beaten Zippy, but it was a worthy fight.
On the edge of the desk, and you will remain there probably for the rest of the year, or until we lose you. So,
Something going to happen to me on the journey home.
well, you never know. Stranger things have happened. Right, let's go back to then the earliest beginnings of your career as a writer, because I remember from back in the day, as you've already alluded to, you wrote various online things.
I did.
How did you transition from that to the sort of professional world, as it were?
Yes, well, I used to do a lot of writing online, including sort of scripts and things and this and that, and comedy sketches. And then I went to university, and I moved, because I grew up in Portsmouth, and I went to Edinburgh. And I went to Edinburgh because it has a student-run theatre, and it's still there, the Bedlam Theatre. I'm not sure if at the time it was very much the only student-run theatre in the UK. There might be others now, but that was absolutely there. Whenever I visit Edinburgh, I wander by, have all the memories come in. And that was the first place that was sort of... that allowed me, that sort of was lax enough to provide me with a budget to put on some of the things I was writing. And I used to do sketch shows, and then I moved on into full-length plays, usually things which I would sort of come up with an idea, stand on a stage, come up with something, and then they give me a budget, and I'd have to go away and write it, which is, I can tell you, not the way it should be done. And I learnt that the hard way. I never learnt by those mistakes. But I did all these comedy plays, and then ended up moving to London, where it is incredibly expensive to stage a play.
Yes.
It's incredibly expensive to stage a play in London. So around about this time, I think podcasts were becoming a thing, as indeed I hear they still are.
They are indeed, yes.
And me and some friends, they had this idea for a comedy film, like a short film, that wasn't going to quite work out. And they said to me, well, look, you've just done a sort of a radio comedy thing at university. What about this? And we had a chat and bounced ideas around, and we created the show called Wooden Overcoats, which is a sitcom set on a fictional Channel island about rival funeral directors. And that went on for about 4 seasons or so. And from that, which was done very much on a budget of 2p, trying to get a studio and get lots of lovely actors, wonderful voice actors from all over the shop involved, from those who've been on telly decades ago to those who just, actors who are very new now. And we created that, and from there, that sort of turned into a very happy career so far, in which I've been able to write other comedy programs. I now have script edited for Audible and other places. I'm writing a Radio 4 play at the moment. And I've done lots of little bits and pieces, and of course, Doctor Who. I've got to write for Doctor Who a few times. When I go home from this, I've got to edit a script that was due in several weeks ago.
Oh my goodness! Well,
we
mustn't keep you, but we will.
Yes.
So with your writing, including, as we can now say, the award-winning Wooden Overcoats.
It's kind of you to mention that. I wasn't going to bring that.
That's fine, because we haven't yet won an award. We haven't won anything.
No, well, they will. I know British Podcast Awards, Best Fiction 2023. Wooden Overcoats. No, I can talk to a few people.
Oh, we're in then. Thank you.
Yes.
But going back to things like the Anderson shows and Doctor Who, do you feel that those have had an influence on your writing career beyond just sort of like name-dropping things, slipping in little in-jokes and such?
Absolutely, because I often put in in-jokes and references to sort of random... I'm fairly sure Hackenbacker has turned up in several of my scripts as a background name. But what I would say is actually, I think Thunderbirds, honestly, is a terrific show. I mean, obviously all are, but Thunderbirds in particular, because of the 50 minutes of Thunderbirds compared to, say, 25 for Captain Scarlet and Stingray, it's a wonderful exercise in dramatic structure. When you look at any really good episode of Thunderbirds, and you've got, and it's accentuated by the 3 ad breaks, the fade to black, and that's the end of the act. So 4 acts. Act 1, 15 minutes, set up a situation, those characters, why are they important, why do we care, what's going to go wrong, what does go wrong, bang, straight into an ad break. That's a lot to cover in a quarter of an hour, and they managed it, on all those episodes. I think, is it 32 episodes actually?
32,
32,
yeah.
I got it
And
wrong
the 2
earlier.
films,
32 episodes in the film. So you've got 50 minutes there. You then have about an extra 10 minutes of just, let's enjoy the disaster a bit more. There's no point in setting it up if you're not going to have fun with it. And fun means people being terrified and more explosions. 10 minutes of that, and our heroes sit there going, oh, crikey, what are we going to do about that? You then go, advert break, fantastic. Wow, we're really excited. Into another 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes, we're going to get our heroes there, sort themselves out. But then things have escalated even more. The building's actually fallen down, or some idiot's going to throw in more sort of alligator juice into the river. It's all even worse. Will the heroes get there in time? Quarter of an hour at the very end. This is when they come in and they save the day, and it's very exciting. Something's about to go wrong, or something goes, or an elevator car tips and smashes into another commercial airline. But it all eventually comes together, and then bang into your end credits. That is a lot of ground to cover in 50 minutes. But just the sheer the sort of the machinery, the construction of all that we managed over those 32 episodes. That's how you hook in children, along with all the explosions and all of that. It's meticulous attention to structure and dramatic detail, and that is something I think I've always tried to keep. I've not always succeeded, but I've always tried to keep with me. And because it works in comedy. Comedy is most of my work is in sitcom or in sort of light-hearted comedy adventure or Doctor Who style fun adventure. And you need that attention to structure and detail to know, right, we can't just have half an hour of people sitting around doing nothing. You've got to have an explosion at the 10-minute mark.
Yeah.
A Dalek needs to turn up there. Our character needs to lose his trousers there. That kind of thing. That attention to detail, I think, has always stayed with me from Gerry Anderson from the age of 5.
And with Thunderbirds as well, the extra time, you get to appreciate the characters more.
Absolutely.
Not just the regulars, but I think that one of the great strengths of Thunderbirds is you wouldn't care so much if you were looking at complete strangers who had a building about to fall on top of them.
Yeah.
If you have a family that you've got to know over the first 10 or 15 minutes of the episode, you care.
Yes.
In theory.
Because I know, was End of the Road one of the... Because I know there were about, 10, maybe a dozen episodes which were made as half hours before they were told. Is End of the Road one of the ones that was extended? Because I remember that as having a lot of character work. Because that's the one about a chap who works for a company and then eventually he's in a truck, tipping over the edge of a precipice with bombs in it. But there's a nice sort of bit in the middle where he goes to Tracy Island and he's sort of, chatting up Tintin, and they've got a thing going, and Alan's a bit jealous. And all of that isn't necessary to get him into a sort of a little truck that's going to go over a cliff.
Yeah.
But it's nice it's there, and you do care about all these people.
I have a feeling, and if I get this wrong, I'm never going to forgive myself, I have a feeling that's not one of the ones that was extended, but I've always felt that it is very much, you can see where the extra material would have gone in.
Absolutely, because that's one where you also think to yourself, I suppose it makes sense, because one of the things toward the end, they go, how are we going to rescue this guy without revealing our identities? Because he's literally been to our house.
Yes.
We invited the bloke over to our gaff, and now we've got to try and save him from this truck. What do we do about that? But then you look at things, I suppose, like the Uninvited. That must be one of those ones which was added material because that's
I
when
think so.
Scott
yes.
crashes, and then there's a lot of back and forth to Thunderbird 5 where we're going, yeah, that's 10 minutes, quick, let's get on with the episode. But even that works. You know, our main characters, the two guys are in sort of a truck and they're in the desert in the middle of nowhere, and they've got a connection to Scott, and it just adds a lot. It does add a great deal. And City of Fire, you know, that family trapped underground, you've spent a lot of time with them.
Yeah.
You do care about these people. This is an ordinary trio of people. You've got to spend time with these people.
Absolutely, yeah. So speaking of structure, we're going to look now at a clip from an episode that you have already mentioned.
Yeah.
This is a clip from Sun Probe, and you have mentioned this.
Yeah.
A, for structure, but also B, for the way it uses music.
Absolutely.
So let's take a look at that.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
We are now certain that the solar spaceship has been saved. I want to be the first person to say thank you to International Rescue for their... Wait, folks, here's more news. This is disastrous. It can't be true. According to the tracking stations, Thunderbird 3 has not altered course. It is heading straight for the sun. Stay tuned.
Gordon, what's happening? They're not pulling around.
Father, the retros must have failed.
We've got to get through the brains right away.
Look at that.
It's
That's
beautiful,
terrific.
yeah.
Just beautiful.
Hello, Father?
And it still holds up so many years later.
What's happened? Alan succeeded in saving the Sun Probe, but now it seems the retros have failed on Thunderbird 3, and they're heading straight for the sun. Straight for the sun? Brains! What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
Yeah. Now that is
Dramatic stuff.
This sort of structure. I was so excited. I actually hit the mic and did thousands of pounds worth of damage.
Oh, that's fine. We've got backups.
But that's it. It's about the structure. It's the thing that lingers a lot in my mind is the use of music. Barry Gorey's fantastic music. Which I think all the best episodes have great cliffhangers, and Sun Probe has got few of the best ones.
Oh, yeah.
You know, one of them is technically like a zoom in on what I think is probably a light bulb, but oh my god, it's the most dramatic and exciting light bulb I've ever seen in television. It's the use of music throughout, the generating of tension. The way that anything can be made to look like the most, oh my God, edge of your seat, exciting programming ever made. And a lot of it, obviously, it's the attention to detail, it's the scripts, the story, the direction. There's so much goes into it, but the music is just that extra, that's right there.
And the voices as well.
Absolutely, yeah, and the voice, all the use of sound is terrific. Every explosion sounds like, you know, I think that's the thing that gets you, the use of sound to create particularly things like fire or things that are underwater. You know, underwater explosions that I imagine sound like, well, nothing. But in Thunderbirds, to Gerry Anderson, just like Atlantic Inferno, that is some of the most spectacular pieces of craft, sheer craft, on ever put into children's television. Because you know, if you see an exciting sort of fire in animation or in real life, etc., that's one thing. But here, because it's sort of puppets and models, you can have an entire oil rig go explosion. There's a shot I think where it's dark clouds in the background. There's an oil rig that's sort of falling down. That explodes. There's fire coming up from the ocean. That's exploding. Thunderbird 2's floating there. Thunderbird 1 shoots off there. There's like 5 explosions in one frame.
Yeah.
And it looks absolutely apocalyptic. And yet this is, you know, the equivalent of filming it in a bathtub. It's astonishing, absolute craft and detail, and the sound going into that, so make sure that every explosion isn't just, but and all of that. And the music overlaid on that, it is an absolutely superlative sort of melding of disciplines, of talents, which is, I think, one of the things when you go back to look at these. You know, you go, oh, it's just a children's show, it's puppets and all that, and then you watch it go, look at this, look at the dedication on this.
I mean, a lot of the people involved with this stuff, it would have just been their day job, but they were all determined, this is going to be the best day's work I have ever done.
Yes.
And it's all up there on screen to the extent that we are still watching this stuff 50, even 60 years later.
Absolutely. I mean, I would love to, if somebody said, I mean, obviously, somebody came up to you and said, hi, you're doing here's your TV series, we've commissioned you, I'll take whatever I can get. But if somebody says to me, hi, here's your sort of police procedural, or gritty sort of, you know, actors looking very sad in trench coats in the rainy day series, or we'd like to do a series where these adventurous sort of puppets end up saving the world from explosions and this, and there's a guy in a pyramid trying to bring down this with masks and all the rest of it. Like, I'll do the latter.
Yeah.
Of course you would. Why wouldn't you want it like that? You see that all the time. I see people in trench coats doing deals on the street every day of my life. I don't see collapsing sort of rocket convoys and all of this and rockets exploding and people going towards the sun. Like that clip there, Sun Probe in particular, and we both enjoy that episode. That's the one where it's, one of those wonderful episodes where international rescue get themselves in danger.
Yes.
And you go, okay, this is terrific. Sun Probe, this rocket's heading for the sun. It's going there. Thunderbird 3 is in pursuit. Thunderbird 2 has got a little buggy over here. They're doing something. This is all very exciting. They're going to die. They're going to die. They've been saved. Hooray, fantastic.
Oh, but the episode is running a bit short, isn't it?
What do we do? What do we do? I know. They're so exhausted on Thunderbird 3 that they can't do the switch to stop the beamy thing, and as a result, it's heading straight to the sun. They're all going to die. And given that there's no one else in space, because, John is in Thunderbird 5, but of course he's not going to do anything.
He oddly doesn't get mentioned throughout that entire episode.
It's so odd. You think maybe he sat there goes, finally, why won't someone give me a ring? I can see them. I can help. No, but on Earth, at the top of a snowy mountain, Brains and Virgil are going to do something. And the build-up, the sheer build-up of tension in what is really, what you're watching is just some models being moved around and people looking at monitors with a beam going, not yet, no, get a bit closer. And yet, for the sheer, what we saw there, about a minute's of footage, it's incredibly tense. And you really get invested in that. And of course, who wouldn't want to be writing, acting, involved in a show that can do all these magical things, and then grab children, and in the way they did me, and inspire them for years and years to come.
Yeah, stick with them for decades, absolutely. We are going to let you now dig into our viewers, listeners' questions. We have a selection of questions in there, so if you would like to pull out a couple of questions and see what you make of those.
I've got one here. I'll take in another one.
Take a couple.
I'll take a couple. I've got exactly 2, because I follow the instructions. I'm going to open this one up. And this question here says, from, hope I'm pronouncing this right, Peach Harding. Hi, David. Hello. If you could write an episode, TV show, audio, for any of Gerry's shows, which one would you choose and why that show? Now, that is an interesting one. Part of me does think instinctively Thunderbirds, because I do like shows about heroes, especially sort of people just sort of being heroic as part of their job. I think it's very easy to get caught up in villains. But I think it's interesting that I personally think in Thunderbirds, the episodes that, we have a regular recurring villain. He's the Hood. He's got 6 episodes. Apart from Trapped in the Sky, not necessarily the best ones. Yeah. I think the best episodes of Thunderbirds usually come about where the disaster has happened. Usually it's through natural grace of God, something's gone wrong. Or it's usually some sort of financial malfeasance where somebody has ended up not sort of, they've underwritten that, or they've done something dodgy here, and actually, that's a bit thing. And we filled up that pit. Oh, actually, did we fill up that pit? Oh no, a sidewind has fallen into it. We should have done something about that. Or no, the budget wasn't there. Or what have we done? That's where a lot of the stories come from, and most of it is about heroes trying to do what they can to save people's lives, and I like that. But I would be very, very tempted to do a Captain Scarlet.
Yes, because there's a lot of scope there.
There's a lot of scope there. I want to do the episode where Captain Magenta finally just takes over and Cloudbase just plummets within minutes. Oh my
goodness, yes. You can immediately see that, can't you? Yes.
Absolutely. Do we have time to talk about Captain Magenta?
We will be talking about Captain Magenta. Fantastic. Not this week. We'll save him for next week. He can be the bulk of next week's episode.
There's a lot. At least 20 minutes of Captain Magenta is what the listeners, the viewers want.
So who have we got for our next question?
Next question. Second question here. Richard Goodborn. Which Anderson property, aired or unaired, would you like to bring to life in your style? Ooh.
I suppose you don't know too many unaired
Not
pilots
unaired,
and things,
no. But I have, of course, as well as Thunderbirds is the big one. Captain Scarlet, of course, I know very, very well. Yeah. I have seen, Stingray, Joe 90, the Secret Service, the Protectors, and so on. I don't know, the Protectors. I've always wanted to do a show like one of those ITC action adventure series. Yeah. And I'd like to do them because I always enjoyed the Persuaders with that sense of humour, the Department S. So I'd be tempted by the Protectors, but again,
we've already answered Scarlet for the previous answer.
We have, and so I think I could do a bloody good job with Thunderbirds. And you know what? Because I've seen the films. Thunderbirds Argo, Thunderbirds 6, Thunderbirds 2004. None of them quite did the thing I want, which is you want several rescues with all the Thunderbirds in them. That's what you want.
Yeah.
You want, we've got a space rescue on there, but at the same time, blimey, something's there, and that giant crab is going to attack that, so Thunderbird 4 is, we hope that works out. You want all those things happening at the same time. So I'd love to do, I want to do a Thunderbirds movie. I want to do it with the puppets again. I want to also tactile, tangible stuff. I mean, of course, if somebody gives me the budget for the CGI version, of course I will deign to do the multi-million pound CGI Thunderbirds movie. But give us a bit more so we can do the puppets. Let's do that. And I want to do the good Thunderbirds movie, building upon the good work of the originals, but that involves all of the characters and all the Thunderbirds and all the rescues, and really, if Cliff Richard wants to be in it, I'll still let him.
Yeah,
I'll still let him, Cliff. You, Cliff, darling, I'll let you go in there. But we are going to have all the Thunderbirds doing stuff and all the pod vehicles. I mean, come on, we've got to have the monobrake somewhere.
Of course, yeah. It is strange, though. Yes, we've had 3 big screen Thunderbirds adaptations, and they are all Alan Tracy is the greatest guy in the universe. Whatever you think of the 2004 movie compared to the Super Mario Nation stuff, none of them, as you say, quite got the whole, we're there for all of them, not just one character.
I think that's it, and you've got all the characters. I'd certainly find something for John to do. I always liked John. He only got one rescue.
You have a fan out there now.
I'm glad, because John Tracy, I know that Gerry wasn't as big into him as perhaps I was, but he only got one rescue in which he got to go onto a boat, mooch along, go, you're doing that all right, and he pissed off again. Like, come on, John, you've got more to offer than that, son. And I will make sure he gets it in the film, which I am doing, once you finance it, please.
You heard it here first.
I want a job, please. Please.
So, as a writer, as an editor, does your experience in that field kind of affect the way you view the shows? Can you watch them completely, just accept them for what they are, or is there part of your brain that's thinking, oh, hold on, I would maybe no?
I think that it's of course I have an even greater appreciation than I did before, because I now know what goes into that and everything that happens, and how if you can get any television show made, that's a miracle. Making a good show is an even bigger miracle.
Yeah.
And so I've always been able to appreciate everything all in the craft of it. I think what happens is when I'm watching an episode, say I watched 2 episodes last week, one in which I absolutely adore and one which I'm not as keen on. And the one I loved was Operation Crash Dive. I think it's a terrific episode. And I just watched that. I thought, I'll see. I'm going to do an interview next week. Let's see. And I just watched it for an hour going, the plane's crashed. There's water everywhere. God's putting cables together. That's incredibly dangerous. And it was very, very exciting. There was no critical faculty in my head. I was just watching this most exciting aviation-involved sort of disaster thing happening, and Thunderbird 4 and all of that. And then I watched Danger at Ocean Deep, which is not one of my favourite episodes. And it does feel like one which has not quite got enough plot to go. And as soon as the tension breaks, I start to think, well, okay, why have we got the strange bit where Scott launches and so does Virgil to go on the rescue we don't see, and then we go for all of Thunderbird 3 goes up there to pick up John to come down again. We see all of that again, and I think this is padding, isn't it?
That's before we even get to the subplot about the dog food.
Absolutely, and then somebody would go, yes, I wonder where the dog food. We think it's probably here, but let's send Lady Penelope to chat to this nice old buffer about it. And she says, yeah, you're absolutely right, it is. And I go, right, well, I guess that ship that's been heading to disaster for the last half an hour we've done nothing about. We should probably get on that, and they do. And then you go, okay, we've got there, and the rescue's not that exciting. It's just sort of like you hover and cut in and presumably get up a ladder. I mean, as far as I can see, they probably just push them over the side and let them swim for it. Yeah. We don't see them. But and that's when you do, I sit there and go, this is where it doesn't work, where you haven't, you've made a bargain of your audience that at the 10, 15-minute mark, this will happen, and then there's the bit of this and the escalation, all the structural stuff I talked about before. And that sort of breaks the rules. It's not as exciting as it should be. It's an attempt to do something different, and other episodes of Thunderbirds attempt to do something different very successfully, like The Imposters, very successful deviation from the form. The Cham Cham, those episodes that do something a little bit different. Even Alias Mr. Hackenbacker, like bizarre episode. I have a strange affection and fondness for it. But that's when I do, and I go, I'd like to do that differently. I'd like to jump in there. And then you start applying things that would probably be far beyond the scope of the time. But that's when I do my script editor hat comes on,
Yeah.
and my writer of, give me that script, I'll do it. There you go. And that's going to come in, and then there's going to Thunderbird 4's got to be. It's called Danger at Ocean Deep. Where's Thunderbird 4? Come on, you don't know your job. I'll do it for you. That's where it sort of comes in, and that's
But
very.
it's too late to do anything about
and it's very
now.
insulting. I mean, they were writing about God knows. I don't know what deadlines they're up against. I mean, and the writer of that episode, he might have been getting married the day after that. He had to quickly hurry up the script. I don't know what pressure he was under, and I apologise.
And on that note, let's go into our questions tin again. We've got a couple more questions you can have.
I picked out a couple.
Two, that's
exactly
fine,
again,
yeah.
a couple. Sophie Davis, hello. I love Wooden Overcoats. Terrific start. Is there something that would do differently if you started all over again? If I did I suppose I did the series over again. I'm not entirely sure that I would. There is a part, season 1 of Wooden Overcoats. Again, this is a series about rival funeral directors on a Channel island, and I do think that we managed to get. We did 4 series of this overall, which is all set on an island, not quite like Tracy Island, but it is an island with an impossible number of things in it. So that's probably a bit of from Thunderbird's viewing. I think the one thing I changed is something I don't believe. Does Thunderbirds ever do a murder mystery? I don't think it does.
Oh,
do
I think there's scope for it.
There's scope.
Yeah.
So I think it's that season 1 of Wooden Overcoats eventually ends with a kind of mystery thriller plot. And it's rubbish. It doesn't work at all. It's just, everything else in that series is terrific. It's some of the most peerless radio comedy you've ever heard, commissioners. The last episode I do differently because I pushed ourselves into a sort of a murder mystery kind of element, which is actually very hard to do. And I've actually had a conversation with a writer recently who had the opinion that a fully comedy murder mystery is almost impossible to do. Because comedy requires that you understand the context perfectly, so you can see, that character's going to get in trouble there. Whereas a murder mystery requires you to withhold information from the audience, so it's hard to do both of them. And I tried to do it, and I can tell you, I failed, and I didn't do it again. Every other episode of that series is perfection, but I dropped the ball on that one. There. So that's what I do differently.
It didn't show. I mean, I've only listened to. Yeah. I think I've listened to the whole series, but only once. It is on my radar to go back to. I will listen with a fresh ear on that.
Yeah, once you get to that episode, you can sit there and go, "Oh, David, you're right. You've tried." You delete all.
Well, I'll let you know. Yes, I'll let you know what I think of that. One more question for this week. Yes,
this is a very good one. This is succinct from Simon Moore. Why audio? Question mark. Why audio indeed? Originally, it was because it was the only place I could get work. Yes. So that's a very important one. But why persist in it? Well, at the time, I had stage comedies on in London, and it is incredible. As anyone who's worked on the Fringe or done anything to do with theatre knows, it is very, very difficult to get people to deviate from their path off the street and go into your theatre and watch what you have done. And it is a huge financial risk to do it. And my producers have been really trying very hard to get people in there, and they did so well. It sold out, and it was a wonderful show, and the production team did absolutely wonderful work. I was so delighted. And even then, the audience they managed to get on this sellout run was still less than that who downloaded an episode of Overcoats that day. And there was something about audio, that the international element, that you could make something that could be heard around the world. Our largest listener base was in America. We had American listeners, but we had listeners everywhere. So that was an element. But also audio as I suspect what Simon means more, as a sort of a storytelling medium, as a form in itself. I think audio, they always say it's intimate, it allows you more imagination, it's, the pictures and people's heads are better, etc. What I do think it allows you to do particularly well is to create a world, the boundaries of which are practically impossible to actually realise in television or film or whatever. But because it's audio, you could just get away with it. We have an island, Piffling Vale, the village on the island of Piffling, has a safari park. It's got mountains, it's got a waterfall, it's got this, it's got shops, it's got other versions of itself, and yet the island is specified as being a mile wide.
Yes.
And it's an impossible amount of stuff. And I don't think we could have done that in any medium. So there's a playful quality to audio that I don't think you can get quite like that in any other medium. It's also a wonderful medium for meeting people, because there are a lot of, all actors, terrific actors, they'll look at, say, television or a film and a stage, and it will take a certain amount of time to come in, to rehearse, to do that. And you go, well, that's going to be a month to do that. So audio, you can get an actor to come in and be a captivating hero for a 10-part epic and get all their stuff done in 2 days in a studio. They don't even have to, they don't even have to get dressed if they don't want to.
That's one of the great joys of it.
They can wear a barrel and they can still be a king in some faraway fantasy epic. And so people come in and do it, and then they get really into it. There's that playful quality of, I didn't need to quite devote a month's worth of resources to this, but I can come in and go, right. And I think the best voice actors are those who still treat the gig as any other sort of as television, film, or stage, but they know, with voice alone, with the sound, the quality of audio, of a voice, with the effects, you can conjure up so much.
Yeah.
I saw one. I had lunch only today with one of your guests for a previous episode.
Yes, indeed, Ronnie LeDoux from the last 2 weeks.
And
yes.
I asked him about what it's like to create a voice for like a puppet or a visual thing. And of course, he's somebody who. He said you look at it and you intuit, you play, but he has an instinct. Voice actors, great voice actors, like the actors they had in Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, they have an innate intuition and facility for going, what is the voice? What does it need to do? How do I make that happen? Then how do I deliver that in the way which hasn't quite been heard before? And I think that's it. There's a certain, when you don't have to run around and go, we've got to build the sets, we've got to do the costumes, crikey, how do we do this? And there's a special effect. When you can concentrate just on how is it heard, you can really dig down into how a story comes alive, how characters come alive, how writing facilitates that in a way which I don't think you can quite do in that way in any other medium. And that's why I find it a very, very, very exciting medium. I wish it paid more than it does, but it is still very exciting.
It's one of those mediums as well where if you find it isn't working on its feet, you can sort of pull it apart
Absolutely.
on the fly. Not greatly, but you can.
It does allow. I think in the way that if you shoot something on a set and you go, that set doesn't work, well, you've got to rebuild something else and get everyone back in. If the set didn't work on audio, you change the background sound file.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's a lot more complexity as well. There are editors out there who have just hit the roof. I know it's much more complex. I've seen my producers at work and I could not do that at all. But I dare say even they'd say it's simpler than if you were doing that in television.
Well, speaking of Wooden Overcoats, which of course started on audio, we will be touching more on Wooden Overcoats next week, but we'd like to get a little bit of it in this week. We have got a trailer for the live shows. Was this during Series 3 you started doing live shows?
We'll find out.
We are back! Tonight! And tonight!
Oh, just throw my husband down the well. It'll probably do.
In this case, it probably would. I'd like a Shirley Temple. That's a joke, isn't it?
A disastrous funeral. You decide.
Debonair sponge.
So, you haven't actually feeling that?
Let's have a roll call. There's lashing wood together to make a stretcher.
So your whole life flashing through your eyes.
Chapman!
It's the mortuary all night.
Somebody wants to. You sleeping there?
Yes.
Now, embarrassing enough, I'm wearing exactly the same clothes and that clip as I am today.
That is not a problem. Can you imagine that I've worn this countless times in this room? Nobody
I have to give
cares.
the impression that I only have one set of clothes, but I also can't say that I don't. So.
It is a far more extravagant set of clothes than any of us are currently attired in. So, yes, we will return to Wooden Overcoats next week for part 2 of this interview, including touching on 1 or 2 Thunderbirds references snuck into Wooden Overcoats. But before we go, where can our listeners find you, keep tracks of you?
They can keep track of me. At the moment, the best place is my website, which is www.davidkbarnes.com. And I am on various social media things as well, but you'll probably find them best through there. At the moment, I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky, and I think there are another 10 social media things being introduced right now, probably during this recording. So, but www.davidkbarnes.com is where you'll find me, and I look very much like this. There are pictures of me doing that. It's this, but more of it.
And of course, Wooden Overcoats, much like the Gerry Anderson podcast, is available on all good podcast platforms.
Absolutely is.
And even 1 or 2 less reputable ones.
Terrible ones. Yeah, they all want it. They all want it.
Same with us.
So,
it's
yes,
incredible.
find Wooden Overcoats on your podcast app of choice.
Fantastic stuff. So, David, you'll join us again next week, I trust, for more of this.
Well, I'll go home now.
Oh, yeah, go home, come back. And in the meantime, this has been the first part of our interview with David K. Barnes. Thank you very much, David K. Barnes.
What a nice man.
What, Chris?
No,
Yeah, he's
David.
not. Oh, David, yes. Yeah.
Chris is all right. But
And a wealth of Anderson memories and knowledge, too.
well, as you'd expect for a guest on the Gerry Anderson podcast.
Well, quite right. Although some of them not so much.
Yeah.
But that's nice. Yes. Well, Chris will be back next week with his second part of his interview with David, so we'll get to hear some more of his Anderson memories and thoughts, and also what he's up to now. Wooden Overcoat's big success, award-winning, nonetheless. But he has a few other irons in the fire as well.
I bet he does. I bet he does.
We'll hear about those.
And more Chris Dale later.
Oh, yes. We just can't get enough of it, can we?
Yeah, can't get rid of him.
No, that's what it is, more like. Now, over on our YouTube channel, Beneath Pod 291 a couple of weeks ago, that was the second part of my interview with Prentice Hancock.
Yes.
Ian Dealey said, I really enjoyed the two-part interview with Prentice Hancock, and I also enjoyed listening to, in block capitals, Thunderbirds Operation Asteroids during Christmas.
Ah, what a nice Christmas gift.
Yeah. Cuddy Wifter.
I beg you. What did you call me?
That was rude. Says, great to see Prentice again after Space 1999. The next time I saw him was as one of the police ghouls in the horror movie Monster Club in 1981.
That's very niche.
Yeah, it's a clip I didn't show.
No.
Yeah.
Don M says, my favourite part of Space 1999 episode, The Last Sunset, is when Paul got hooked on the moon shrooms. Fascinating capitalisation in that comment as well.
That's right.
And Alan Jones says, Prentice got to flex his acting muscles a bit in The Last Sunset.
That's right.
Yes.
Meanwhile, an individual comments about the Fab Fact that week, which was about left-hand and right-hand vehicles. I don't know if you remember how that was a fascinating Fab Fact. I seem to remember in UFOs specifically. Well, says an individual, only some of the vehicles in UFO were left-hand drive. Many were right-hand drive, so continuity error. It was okay in 1970 because we had no way of replaying the episode.
Oh.
That's true. I think they're suggesting that perhaps program makers got away with things a little bit more because you only saw them once. It was like, wasn't that? Oh, no, never mind. Missed it.
But now we can pick it to pieces.
That's right. I took to Twitter a couple of weeks ago because...
No, what did you do? A rant?
No, it wasn't a rant. I had a dream.
Yes.
I dreamt that Martin Landau wanted to kill me, I tweeted.
I think I recall.
Yes. He was standing in my kitchen in full Space 1999 uniform throwing saucepans at me. And that's true, it's what I dreamt.
Panderson.
With quite a look in his eye. Panderson, exactly. Lloyd said, did you manage to get him to sign any of them?
Oh, probably not.
Mr. Brown Alliance tweeted, rejected Freddie Freiberger script.
Orcs, yeah.
Sounds like
possible.
it. Atragon says, season 2 episode.
Yeah, I detect a theme here.
People are clever, aren't they? Simon G says, anyone got a Ouija board? We'll need to call on the expertise of Sigmund Freud, although I suspect all he will say is, Mr. James, have you been having other dreams about Helena Russell? Never. I never have.
Never?
No.
Gosh.
Only Martin Landau.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. And finally, Chris Dale himself tweeted, I smell a Fab Fact here. Oh. Yes.
Fib fact.
Could happen. All for now. Keep them coming in. Comments beneath the YouTube channel are always interesting to read, and some of them more interesting than others. And also, we don't really read out tweets anymore because, well, a few people have left X recently, and people don't seem to tweet so much about the Gerry Anderson podcast. Fair enough. But if you do, hashtag it Gerry Anderson podcast, and I'll read that out too.
Yeah. Have you been on Threads?
I think I signed up for Threads, and I think I posted a GIF of Nicholas Courtney, and I left it at that.
Well, that's the best way to do on all these social platforms, really. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I think it's time that we kicked back, put up our feet, made ourselves a nice cup of coffee, and let Chris Dale and David Barnes have a go at the old randomiser.
Quite right, too.
Shall we?
More Chris, please.
Over to you.
So, David, thank you ever so much for joining us here in Slough today. We have here the randomiser with every single Gerry Anderson episode ever made in it. There's a button right there.
There is.
I think you'd like to press that, wouldn't you? Here we go, folks. What's he going to produce for us today? Thank you. Well done. That's all right. It doesn't actually move as well as it used to. We used to have a big red button. It's had a bit of a rebuild. Yeah, it's fine. So, we seem to have Heart of New York, which I believe is an episode of...
Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons.
What are the chances? Thank you very much. Here's Captain Scarlet. Well, David, thank you for agreeing to sit through this with me, as it was your pick on the randomiser. It's only fitting that you watch this. Can you remember when we used to watch episodes together remotely? It was on MSN Messenger, wasn't it? My goodness, back in the day. Yes, pre-broadband. Pre-anything, really. Watching this on DVD and firing comments back and forth with each other.
Why is the cat shooting Captain Scarlet?
That is a question that we don't really have time to go into,
No,
I
we
don't
don't.
think, no. As
A
long as
cat stalks along a street, turns around, shoots Captain Scarlet.
there he is.
Francis Matthews.
Indeed. This is quite a slow opening to this one, isn't it? This
Man
is...
from MI5, Lady Penelope's going to come by on her yacht.
Yes. But again, instantly you look at this and think, oh my goodness, the craftsmanship that goes into even this.
The fact that it's like a night, sort of a night shot by the sea, it does look beautiful, doesn't it? This is.
And the fact that it's on Blu-ray as well. I mean, the DVDs were good for their time, but the fact that you can see detail in this, that it just stands out. And there's this Spectrum security chappie defending a... well, we will come to know that this is the Spectrum security vaults. Because we do know that Spectrum security guards, by and large, are... Yes.
Drawn from the Captain Magenta school.
Indeed, yes.
Competency.
And this episode will highlight that quite spectacularly. But we have some sneaky chaps in a submarine. And again, this is one where I'm glad that they restored it in HD, because on DVD I could never quite make out what that thing actually was.
No, I don't think I've ever seen that bit before.
No.
Oh, nice. I thought it was a kitchen. No?
Come on.
No, I'm sorry, there's no one else around.
No one wants to talk to that guy. Yeah, even there, I can't make out what that actually is meant to be. It does remind me a bit of, is it Octopussy, when Roger Moore was in the...
there's a crocodile. Yeah, the crocodile that flips up.
Yes. We've got a couple of pairs of
there's
footsteps.
Suspense. There's tension. I don't know what's happening, but there's intrigue.
I'll pass on the message in the morning.
Note-taking?
Note-taking. It's doing a shopping list from the wife.
The guard's coming out. Give me the disc.
And this puppet on the left was always playing villains.
Yeah.
I have a feeling the one on the right only appears in this episode. So they've now thrown down a thingy.
Nice old cake tin has been thrown down in front of our officer.
And meanwhile, this Spectrum security guard is just enjoying the night air. And now there's a flashing light to look at.
I do like the wetsuits that they have in Superman Nation.
Yeah.
There's a nice sort of sleek, slightly kinky aspect to divers in this series.
Yes, I think, again, those costumes are probably reused across multiple series. But here's a obviously suspicious thing. What does my training tell me to do with it?
Don't do that. Right, okay. No, right. At the very least, tap it with a broomstick.
Yes.
From a distance, no?
Or alert your colleague. Although they've established there's no one else.
No, it's a shame. Again, this sort of the John Tracy Thunderbird 5 style of surveillance. You keep one person by himself at a very important location.
And you leave the vital keys in the desk inside.
Wait for the gas to clear.
Well, that's sensible at least.
Yeah.
And speaking of dramatic close-ups, you mentioned during your interview.
Yes.
This is a classic.
Yeah.
Zoom. Zoom.
Straight into the...
Oh, poor guard.
He'll be out for about a half an hour.
Oh, good.
How long will you need to open the strong room?
About 10 minutes. Carl gave me all the detailed drawings.
That's Gary Files' voice, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll get the equipment.
Right.
And he is, I think, an underrated voice artist in these shows. And he's one of those where you can't always be sure whether it's him or not. There's one or two where they're just so good at disguising themselves.
Well, I've taken care of the alarm system. One little bang in the right place and she's open.
Get back behind the table.
It's a terrific voice cast. All
round, yeah.
You know, it took me a very long time to know that David Graham. I knew he was Brains and Parker. It took me a long time to realise he was Gordon. And it's so... Because Gordon is just Brains without a stutter, but I never got that. You know, there's still characters David Graham plays. I go, is that really him?
Yeah.
We've done it. The door's opening.
It also took me a long time to realise that you were hearing the same voices across multiple shows.
Absolutely.
Like, I didn't realise until, I think it was an episode of this, and suddenly hearing Captain Grey, and I thought, oh right, that's Steve Zodiac's voice from Fireball XL5. Why is he there?
A great format, this. Doing this every week, over the opening credits.
Yep, but over the characters as well.
But we are getting story, and it's different every week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the idea of the villain tells you what they're going to do each week is, on the face of it, a strange choice. But the War of Nerves does justify it, and I think this is a terrific format.
It is one of those elements of the series that does get criticised heavily, that they basically phone up their opponents at the start of each week and say, this is what we're going to do, try and stop us.
Yeah.
But it is...
That's the point.
Yeah, it works very well. And this just always looks beautiful. Very chilling.
Captain Black.
There he is.
Terrifying mask. Absolutely terrifying. Children's program.
Oh, yeah. So when was the last time you actually sat down and watched an episode?
It's been a while, because I watched an episode of Thunderbirds last week to prepare for this. But I've not seen any Captain Scarlet for quite a while. It has been a number of years. Actually, I think I got the Volume 1 Blu-ray.
Oh, yeah.
So I've seen this a few years ago.
Grade A security.
This guard must feel like an absolute plonker.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever opened this strong room door knew just what they were doing.
But that puppet playing the guard had been Spectrum guards in previous episodes, and obviously they've just plonked him down there. But I like the fact that he's just gone from failure to failure to failure, never gets a break. But this is sweet.
I love the rainbow colours shooting out of his.
How is he? Is he all right?
Nerve gas, but he's fully recovered.
I'm glad to hear it. Go on.
We're inside the...
I like to think he's wearing those colours. He's like a peacock.
They never quite make sense, though. There's a red one and a blue one. There's a green one. There's a goldy one. But then we've got lots of other colours that don't quite fit the lineup of captains.
Well, it doesn't sound like the work of the Mysterons. I wanted you to check it out first, but now I think we can leave it to the Spectrum Police.
I love that as well. I don't think they're mentioned in any other episode.
Yeah.
Spectrum Police.
I can't be bothered. Get someone else.
Yes, Colonel, we'll leave immediately.
Nice bit of aeronautical model shot.
It's nice as well that we get an opening sequence that doesn't seem to tie in with the larger story. Because I think this is a clever idea in its concept of the criminals.
Yes.
It's rare that you get any sort of sense in this show how much the general public know about what's going on.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's because the opponent, once you've got the Mysterons, it's quite difficult to get somebody else in. But actually...
Kruger and I risk our necks to get a heap of useless paper.
How was I to know what was inside?
And again, some magnificent hotel rooms, offices, and similar in this show. Very big, very spacious.
Nice little fin ties. Tiny knot that man.
Storing something more valuable than papers, isn't that reasonable?
Well, you two stop arguing. Have either of you read any of these
And
documents?
this is interesting as well because he mentions an eyewitness account of a Mysteron reconstruction, which I don't think you ever see anyone in the series watching as Captain Black bumps someone off.
They can destroy an object or person and reconstruct them for their own...
It's also interesting that nobody seems particularly bothered that
No,
there are alien body snatchers.
Reconstruction as it actually happened.
Very interesting material, but it doesn't help us. Unless you're thinking of writing a book.
Not a book. Maybe a play. And we'll all be in it. I think I know how to make the Mysterons work for us.
It's a nice idea for a story. God, these very grubby... This looks like a very poor part of town south.
There's a newspaper stand there as well, and in HD you can see it says something like Himalayan disaster, telescope of write-off.
Oh.
Do you remember there's an episode in the Himalayas with a telescope, which would have been made before this?
Shadow of Fear.
Shadow of Fear, that's the one, yes.
I still remember.
And I'd never noticed that before the
That's
Blu-rays
an excellent
came
detail.
along.
No, that's the sort of detail you'd never notice.
No.
And also the newspapers are going along, being blown in the wind.
Yeah.
Again.
It's detail that they never would have had to put in.
No,
but they did it because they were professionals.
Bank, New York. The gold reserve for the whole eastern seaboard is held in there.
Thanks
Do you
for
think
reminding
it'll
us.
work?
Sure it'll work. Inside an hour, we will all be Mysterons.
I do love, as well, the plan within a plan element going on here. That the Mysterons don't really need to do much with this.
No, they just sit back and go, well, we'll just let this go on.
We had this whole plan schedule, but no, if they're going to, crack this going, then, yeah.
Oh. Hey, buddy, I think we spotted a fire.
Whereabouts?
Come down here. I can't hear you.
Right.
No.
It is a running theme with this episode.
Very trusting.
Yes. Security guards and people who really should know better.
Well, you must get quite a view from up there.
Here, pal. Have a drink.
No thanks. You said you saw a fire.
The man said have a drink.
Look, quit playing games, will you? Pull off the road and sober up.
Are you insinuating I'm drunk?
By the smell of liquor.
It is a slightly grown-up element to this scene as well.
Absolutely.
Friend, keep the speed down.
Because I used to sometimes write for sort of licensed properties based on family, stuff like Doctor Who, etc. You're not allowed to have references to alcohol or drink in those, And so actually here, that's that time when you could throw in alcohol. You could have the entire episode about Mr. On's spiking champagne, and that's your 25-minute family.
Well, one of these guys was smoking a cigarette earlier, and you wouldn't get that now. Gosh, we sound old now, don't we? Back in our day. Oh, dear.
Right, get the dummies out of the trunk. If we can roll the car down to that clearing, it'll be in full view from the tower when it goes over the edge.
I love that they've got the resources to not only throw dummies of themselves together, they've gone out and bought replicas of their own clothes, and they've got a spare car from somewhere. But it's just, as a kid, you don't think about how the plan doesn't quite come together.
Yes, it doesn't make you think, okay, your plan is, you're going to make yourself look like Mr. Ons. This is quite convincing. I wonder how that will help you, as opposed to bring down Spectrum on your shoulders straight away.
I mean, presumably, someone investigated the wreck and discovered, oh wait, this isn't human remains. This is burnt plastic. Although, considering this is Captain Scarlet, there are a lot of car wrecks that never get discovered.
Car off the cliff.
Yes.
Crash. Oh dear.
And again, because they're meant to be dummies, you can get away with a slightly more grisly detail of these bodies that aren't really bodies.
Oh no, the bodies have fallen out.
Yes. Because we've established in the Captain Scarlet universe, every road leads to a cliff.
Ah, there we go. So look at that. What a great experience. All the fire.
Yeah.
So I just sound like a channel. All the fire. That's what you...
The car sailed right over the edge. They didn't stand a chance. They must have all been...
Oh, it's his hat he doesn't wear.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the whole thing.
I suspect that could be a leftover hat from the Lodge episode, the Hunting Lodge. Oh, they're back.
I saw you. You were all killed. The crash, the fire.
You're wrong, Earthman. Tell the authorities we Mysterons intend to destroy the Second National Bank of New York. Tell them that when you wake up.
Oh,
so this is so you're diverting all security forces, one would have thought, to the place you intend to be.
Yes.
As opposed to like sending them to a different city or the other side of the world.
Well, the threat was New York, wasn't it? But New York is a big place. So I hear. There's so many places they could have sent them, but
It seems the Mysterons have killed over 3 men and intend to destroy the Second National Bank in New York.
God, that's it. This is the first time seeing it in HD. God, that's the
very
colour
vibrant,
beaming off his tunic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to risk Spectrum lives trying to save a bank. Put me in touch with Captain.
A socialist in white.
You're thinking the bank managers are off screen. It's all right, Spectrum are going to save us. What did he say?
We organised a systematic search of the...
Colonel White, very much against currency.
Yeah.
So far, no sign of a Mysteron booby trap.
Yeah, so we have green, brown, red, green, blue, brown,
Indigo.
Several light blues.
Captain Indigo.
Presumably, yes, when they lose a captain, they take the bulb out.
Yeah.
And that's that.
National Bank. I don't pretend to understand why, but if they do succeed, I don't want any of our men hurt in the explosion.
Not even you.
Captain Magenta.
Oh yes, here comes his big scene, I think, for this episode. We've mentioned he is a fan of roadblocks.
Yeah, Dex standing around with his loaded gun.
A roadblock. Better ease up.
Right. It's a Spectrum roadblock. We'll have to be careful.
They're crack security professionals, old Spectrum. We won't get anything past them.
We'll get through.
There he is.
You could have run him over easily.
It really wouldn't matter.
You're standing in front of the sign that says halt, so they couldn't have read it.
01X238.
Well, do roadblocks... Is putting up a sign ahead of the roadblock saying slow down, there's a roadblock coming up? Is that standard procedure? don't know. You would expect people to just turn around and head back the way they were coming, but
there he is.
There
The shades of Captain Magenta.
There's the money
suited
shot
up.
for the
That's a good
whole
one.
series.
That's the point when you go, this man should have his own show.
Yes. And the fact it's so redundant as well, because, okay, he's got the Cap microphone, but presumably the radio, what they hear would have to come through the hat anyway.
Yes.
I don't think this is standard Spectrum equipment. I think this is a private project.
This is Captain Magenta's gone, I want to look so cool.
Yes. And Ochre's just far too polite to point out the obvious.
2 are negative, Captain Magenta. I'm checking on the 3rd.
And Ochre is nothing of a character, but he's competent for the most part.
Yes.
I suppose anybody would look competent when stationed next to Magenta here.
Where are you heading? Like you, Captain.
Okay, they've also got the ID of government agents. Yep. I wonder if they need to do this whole Mr. On thing at all. They could have...
They can proceed.
You've got presumably faked ID or not.
Yeah, because Spectrum are now going to know from the lookout there are 3 men.
Yeah.
Oh, here are 3 men. Does this tally? No, because they're clear to proceed.
Thanks, Captain. We'll manage.
I mean, at least Captain Magenta didn't shoot them. Clearly he was eager to do.
Oh dear.
Well, I've got to hand it to you, Kruger. You were smooth.
He even told us they had pulled all their men back.
And I think this is a scene where the puppets are being worked from below, possibly. There's no strings coming out the tops of those heads, which is, again, something else you can only really see on Blu-ray.
It's interesting, I suppose the plot here being, we pretend to be Mysterons, tell them what the target is, and bank on the fact they will evacuate the area.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I would have thought, increase security, like evacuate citizens. Captain Black's. Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, Captain Black.
It's a lovely reveal for it.
Yeah.
Hello. This is sweet as well. They've articulated the model just to wave his arm around.
Captain Scarlet, Captain Blue.
3 men were reported heading this
way. We're here for your job, Magenta.
Yes, we let them pass about 15 minutes ago.
You did what? Pass?
They knew the Mysterons had changed
Oh, he's beautiful.
authorization to enter.
Government agents, eh?
Yes.
And here it is.
How did they know about the Mysteron change of plan?
Uh-oh.
That information was only circulated to Spectrum personnel.
You're right.
It's beginning...
I told them by accident. I knew I shouldn't have done that.
Mysterons, the fire lookout, saw in the crash.
But they were checked out by the detector.
This is why we need Scarlet on everything. And it is one of those things, again, where you think this is a global security organisation with a lot of things to defend, and they only ever send 1 or 2 guys.
It's like, it seems that international rescue rely upon one agent, Lady Penelope, to investigate everything, no matter where it is. It's like, we've got a hillbilly in that area already, but we'll send Lady Penelope as well.
Even when stuff is happening on the hillbilly's doorstep, we'll put Penelope in there. I mean, I wonder if, to a certain extent, they're assuming Spectrum won't guard the bank because in the future we've moved beyond caring about money.
Maybe.
But I don't know.
There's a good germ of an idea here. Like some criminals pretend to be Mysterons for a plan of their own. That's a nice, juicy idea. That's a good concept. The actual plotting, I remember this on the episodes, even when I watched it the first time as a kid, I thought, I don't understand how this works.
And all the elements are in place to keep the story as is. It's just sort of the people's motivations.
Yeah.
People seem to be doing the exact opposite of what a real person would do. We saw earlier there Captain Black with a bit of a smile on his face.
Yeah, he's looking forward to this gig.
I don't know if that's a repaint of the original human Captain Black head, or if they made a smiling face when they made smiling faces for all the other characters. Because they would have been... There's the smile again.
Yeah. He is having a lovely time this week.
He's been looking forward to this.
Yeah.
It's almost worth the plan not making any sense for the fact that he is having a good time.
Yeah.
He doesn't always get that.
What a wonderfully sinister figure this Captain Black is. Just as a character.
Yeah.
Brilliant model.
And the fact that he's one of our own as well. He's the fallen angel, essentially.
Well, yeah, in the first episode, where it's like a close-up of him in the car before he's like transmogrified, and then the next shot is suddenly zombified. It's a terrifying cut.
Close-up on the face.
Absolutely. It's not like we do a merge. It's just like cut to one, cut to the next, and he's suddenly... And it's very frightening.
And the fact that it's never explained as well.
Perfect.
Now we just need to dress as Santa Claus. And we'll...
God, get a drill, yes. I've forgotten about that. Oh, my goodness.
Okay, but you must call me Santa. Oh.
Yeah, I suppose they had a lot of bank vault money and such left over from
there's
Thunderbirds Christmas.
There's a little old man in there quietly suffocating. Oh, thank you.
Oh, international rescue.
You are Earthmen. The greed that brought you here will cost you dearly.
Good line.
Yes, he's been thinking about that one.
Will be destroyed, and you with it.
So they made up the idea that the bank was the Mistron target, and it turns out that it was the Mistron target.
Yes.
I still think it's probably just the Mistrons are like, you know what, let's just have a go at these three guys.
This is a holiday for the Mistrons this week. You go, let's just kick back. Captain Black's having a great time.
And the fact that we've crippled New York's economy, that's a minor plus.
He didn't even need to kill anyone this week. He just had to walk into a bank and shut a door. Like, easy.
Yeah.
Very dirty buildings.
Look, there's a car.
I love all these city streets, though. The detail here.
Absolutely, like good goods cost less. I think I saw that.
Yes. There's the Go Gay shop in London.
Yes.
Which I don't think reappears in New York, but I like seeing the shop names reappear.
Guy Fabrics.
There's actually a pro-smoking sign on that building back there, yeah. It's cut out of a newspaper and stuck on the wall. Oh, here we go.
Suspect Captain Black is driving. Make sure he does not escape. Don't worry, Captain Blue. He won't get through here.
Won't he?
2 minutes later.
Yeah.
Fire everywhere.
This is the voice of the mist.
Yeah, who else would it be? Come on.
There is a roadblock ahead. And a Spectrum saloon.
Yeah, he's one of those puppets that looks good from any angle.
Absolutely.
There's so much going on with that
and yet,
face.
he's happy. He's not smiling anymore. They've really gone back to an angry face.
He's cornered now. No escape. And I think this is the moment they introduce the let's teleport Black out of danger thing, which I was never mad keen on, but,
Yeah, and also the car. I can't remember. Does this happen again or frequently?
In Model Spy, the French police have got the tunnel.
I remember, yes, absolutely.
Roadblocked off.
And I think the target sees them disappear.
Yes. I think that's the only other time happens.
It's awkward because it's one of those powers which once you've introduced it, you think, why don't they do that more often?
Yeah.
It actually closes off more stories than it opens.
Yeah.
When they're already so powerful.
None. He's vanished like a ghost.
I think
the Misterons have powers we cannot hope to understand.
I suppose
Colonel White said that to me once.
Oh God, I forgot.
There's still three guys in
there.
I
forgot this. I thought they were going to get rescued. I forgot what show we were watching.
Oh yeah, if it were Thunderbirds, they would be saved no matter what.
Genuinely surprised. I thought they were going to save those men.
No.
I know they've been killed.
Now that the full story has emerged, we see how the...
You look too casual.
Oh, he does. Magenta doesn't get a chair. We don't have enough chairs.
He's on the naughty stool in the corner.
Said they would. The heart of New York.
But this is always a nice touch to end with the happy Colonel White speech.
Typical of mankind, whom I believe to be basically good.
Oh, there we go. We're basically good.
Convinced of our ultimate victory against the Misterons.
Hey!
See, he doesn't care about money or banks.
No.
He has an ultimately very rosy view of humankind. I think that's a lovely message.
Yeah, it's very positive. Well, David, thank you so much for sitting through Heart of New York with me. I know they do, don't they? It's when you're constantly seeing interesting little details and such. And of course, as you say, there is a lot to go through here story-wise.
Absolutely, but you can't take away from that the commitment to craft, the model work, the voice acting, the suspense, the tension, the pace. That did just fly by.
Oh, Tony Barwick, there we go.
I might have a bit of a laugh at the plotting's a bit, but that's a top-notch production.
Absolutely, yeah, through and through.
Yeah.
And there's very few episodes of not only Scarlet, but most of the Super Marionation shows where you can't say, as mad as the premise might be, or even the story, you never get the sense that everyone isn't really giving it their all.
Absolutely, and the idea at the end there, and actually, our guys did get blown up in a bank there. Like people thought, it's just the Misterons. Oh no, they were not innocent lives as such, but didn't deserve to get blown up.
And the fact that you don't see them at the end, it's just, and then this happened, bang.
Bang. That's, again, children's program. Yeah. Surprising. A lot going on there.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. Even after 50 58 years. It still holds up. I think it always will. David, thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Heart of New York.
Heart of New York, terrific.
Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I missed out a head turn. That's really complicated.
You can make it work.
Boom, 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 boom. But then I end up not looking at you.
You should have started at the camera.
Boom, 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 boom. Oh, but I should be looking at that camera. This is needlessly complicated. Anyway, what I'm trying to say, it was Captain Scarlet.
It's amazing. That really dynamic spectrum beat thing has never been so tedious as you made it just then. But Captain Scarlet is always good value.
Yes, of course it is. Many people's favourite show.
Yes.
Beyond...
Many others not their favourite.
Well, yes, but I mean, Thunderbird, it's often seen as a bit darker.
A lot darker.
Yes.
So much death.
The puppets' sort of head sizes were different, which some people seem to appreciate more than others.
Chris loves it.
Right. Well, as we saw. Excellent. More Randomiser next week.
Yes.
More David Barnes next week.
More Chris Dale next week.
More Fab Fact next week.
More Gerry Anderson podcast next week.
More Podsterons.
Most importantly.
More of everything.
Excellent.
So will we see you then?
I can't wait.
Oh, you'll be back, will you?
If that's allowed.
More Jamie Anderson.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
It's amazing. Neither of us have yet to miss.
I was thinking that the other day.
We've come close a couple of times.
Because I was abroad when that Alaska Airlines thing with the 737 MAX when the side blew off a bit. And
that's
there was a bit where we were thinking, well, how many aircraft are going to be grounded?
Wow.
Then I wouldn't be able to get back.
Imagine.
For Pod 292.
That's right.
Would that have been weird? Would it have been better?
Might have turned things around a bit, really.
Yeah.
Might have given us a breath of fresh air.
Better shake things up a bit.
Yeah. Terrifying.
Yeah. If you could replace me with any host.
Oh!
You can choose anyone.
Anyone? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone at
all. Dead or alive.
Dead or alive. Alan Carr.
Alan Carr.
Yeah. I think we'd work really well together.
It's fascinating that you'd go for Alan Carr.
Yeah,
what,
you think?
What made you
I just
think
think
of Alan Carr?
he'd bring a bit more gravitas to it than you do.
More gravitas, right, okay. I think more knowledge of the Anderverse as well,
obviously,
of course.
That's right, yeah. And just an all-round nicer person, I think.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do.
That's fair.
Just planted the seed of an idea there.
Yeah.
Also, I can do an Alan Carr impression, but we'll leave that for another day.
I can't wait. Let's hear it in Pod 295. There's a reason to come back.
Bye.
Bye.
That was an Anderson Entertainment production.